In the 25th year of Yuan-Tai era of Great Zhou, the Eastern Tatars invaded northern Xinjiang. The Border Defense Army of Northern Yan Iron Cavalry met up with the garrison of the Ning and Tang prefectures. These forces combined at the Wuding River to win a devastating victory over the Eastern Tatar troops, driving the 700 Li back to reclaim the West Autumn Gate. In August of the same year, the Eastern Tatars' Dark Pearl troops presented a memorial pleading to surrender, expressing their willingness to return to submitting to the Great Zhu's authority, declaring themselves vassals and paying tribute. On the 16th of August, the ambassadors of both sides complete the ceremony of surrender on the banks of the Wuding River. It was arranged for the Dark Pearl troops to pay an annual tribute of fur, medicine, horses, gold, and silver. They were also to send the Khan's own son to the capital, entering the Imperial College to learn the etiquette and propriety of Central Plains. In September, the imperial court issued a decree ordering the commander of the Northern Yan Iron Cavalry, the Marquis of Jingning, Fushen, to escort the Tatar diplomatic corps to the capital for an audience with the sovereign. With the war stable at the moment and the Dark Pearl troops having retreated back outside the gate, Fushen had no worries for the time being. He therefore ordered his subordinate, Yuan Huan, to take the main force back to northern Xinjiang, while he himself commanded a team of his finest riders to escort the diplomats southwards. On the 19th of September, the diplomatic corps was passing through the Blue Sand Pass when the ground began to tremble incessantly. The mountain walls on both sides collapsed with a loud crash, gravels and rocks falling like rain, scaring the horses to bolt wildly. In the haste, the carriage of the young Tatar prince could not dodge in time, and was actually smashed directly open by a boulder falling from the sky. The terrain of the Blue Sand Pass was narrow and precipitous, but given its location within the Great Zoo's territory, it had always been peaceful. Reasonably speaking, no ambush should have taken place there. Wishen had continuously been on guard and taken extensive precautions this entire way. But he could never have imagined such an unexpected disaster of a landslide right at the threshold of his own home. He temporarily had no room to care for any princess. Seeing the falling rocks tumbling directly down in front, he immediately turned the head of his horse around and shouted a retreat, leading the mass of people rushing back to the original entrance of the pass. The smoke and dust wafted up in all directions, almost dyeing the entire valley into the color of the sand. Among the high treetops, an ingeniously crafted crossbow mechanism adjusted its direction, the sinister cold light of the arrow tip lining up with the Northern Yan commander, spurring his horse to run like mad. In this moment of imminent crisis, those keen instincts tempered on the battlefield were what saved his life. The arrow split the wind as it flew through the air, but Fushan seemed to have grown eyes on his back. He ducked low and bent over while abruptly pulling on the reins. The military horse came to a sudden stop, rearing its front hooves high in the air and turning a half circle in place, just enough to avoid the cold arrow aiming to take his life. The arrow tip scraped his back in its rapid flight past him, clattering as it plumped half an inch into the stone wall and was then drowned by the tumbling sand. Who's there? Who wanted to kill him? This ice-cold thought only flashed in Fushin's mind for an instant. The next moment, the calls and shouts of the surrounding soldiers pulled him back to reality. General, watch out! The enormous boulder that fell from above bloated out the sun and the sky, and completely cut off his line of sight backwards. On the 9th of September in the 25th year of the Yontai era, the Eastern Tatar diplomatic envoy was attacked at the Stone Prefecture's Blue Sand Pass. The youngest Eastern Tatar prince was killed on the scene, and more than half of the diplomatic envoy was lost. The escorting Marquis of Jingning, Fushen, had both of his legs crushed by a boulder. Severely wounded, he was sent back to northern Xinjiang by trusted bodyguards riding day and night. Although his life was fortunately preserved, it was feared that recovery to normal would be difficult. When this news was sent back to the capital, both the court and the commons erupted into an utterly stunned uproar. The enraged and furious Yonsei Emperor issued an imperial edict for the three judicial chief ministries to strictly investigate this case. He also specially decreed favors to be bestowed to Fu Shen, adding 10,000 pecks of grain to the Marquis of Jingling's original salary as an official, conferring him the title of general who guards his state, bestowing him with purple silk ribbon on a gold medal, and permitting him to retain his position while returning to the capital for recuperation. From this point of view, His Majesty did not just give preferential treatment to those who had contributed outstanding service. His actions were magnanimous, enough that they could even be called doing everything possible to help. The Marquis of Jingling and the Northern Yan army at the center of these rumors received a decree, yet showed absolutely no movement. Only at the end of September did Fuxian send a folded booklet letter detailing the planned over arrangements for the military affairs of the garrison troops in the north, and asking the emperor for permission to quit his position and recuperate. This letter enabled the Yonsei emperor to let out a breath of relief, following the usual rules to reject Fuxian's resignation and allow him to return to the capital from northern Xinjiang. Numerous people in the capital counted the days on their fingers, raising their heads in anticipation to see what has become of the famous Marquis of Jingning. Thousands of miles away, below a twilight sky, a small carriage surrounded by escorting bodyguards left the closely guarded Yang Prefecture city and sped towards the capital.